What's up, everybody, and welcome to the number one Group of Five college football podcast in the world. This is the Group of Five guys, and our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs that the mainstream sports media absolutely refuses to be. We need your help to do that. We need you to hit the follow button on all the social platforms at Group of Five guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcast. Subscribe to the channel, leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, tell your family and friends all about us. On this episode of Inside Drill with Group of Five guys, we are giving Tulsa a voice. We got brand new head coach Trey Lamb joining us for his second appearance on Inside Drill. Hey guys, welcoming back to the show, second time guest actually, first time as an FBS head coach, Trey Lamb. We had him on when he was at Gardner-Webb. Brand new Tulsa football head coach. Coach, appreciate you joining us again, man.
Yeah, man. Think a lot of y'all, and you do a great job. And I've followed you for a long time, and it's an honor to finally be on the show as a FBS G5 coach. So I'll be your biggest advocate. I can promise you that.
Well, I got to tell you, so far, I mean, first impression, you got the NFL Hard Knocks caliber camera. Kind of the behind the scenes view. Nobody's ever had that now. Most of the coaches we have on and people have on there, it takes them 3 tries to get on the right internet and everything like that. And here you are ready to roll. So that's impressive.
A lot of interviews in the last month, and players and coaches. So this gives me the best chance to move around and accomplish a lot of things at once. And Our video guy set this up in here. I got a great office overlooking the stadium, so we thought it was cool, and you know I like the fact that when you're interviewing somebody you can move around, and I got ADHD bad, so I can move around, go to the bathroom, have other coaches sitting in here, and you can accomplish a lot.
Feel free to get up and walk around if you need to, but Coach, You're one of the youngest coaches in FBS. You've kind of been on this pretty quick trajectory, I guess. Bunch of jobs opened up this offseason. Why Tulsa? And then kind of walk us through the process of, or whatever you're allowed to say, I guess. Did you reach out to them? They call you? Agents involved? Walk us through that.
Yeah, we got off to a hot start this year and took over a losing program, and they had won 6 games in 2 years. And we got off to a really hot start. We played out pretty well, and then we go beat Elon, beat Citadel, and then we got North Dakota State coming to town. And actually, we beat them and everywhere but the scoreboard. We were up 12 points with, a minute and a half left with the ball. Like, it was less than 1% chance of losing that game. They recover an onside kick. They throw a Hail Mary, blah, blah, blah. We lose the game, but I think that kind of put us on the map a little bit, started getting ranked, and a lot of people started talking about us. We rattled off a few more wins, lose to a couple of good teams. So I started getting phone calls, towards the middle of the year. We're sitting there 5-2, have a chance to really be in the playoff conversation in the FCS, and kind of a big turnaround from last year, and get to 6-2, doubled our win total from the last 2 years. So yeah, I started getting calls, and all this stuff kind of unfolds about week 6 or 7. You start figuring out who's going where and what jobs are coming open. And, my agent does an awesome job with Athletes First, Corey Dorfman. And he was kind of keeping me abreast while I was still, coaching our team. I thought we had a chance to do something pretty special and had a really good year. But kind of had an idea this one might be coming open. And I was interested, and kind of had initial phone calls late in the year, just small talk with the AD. And he's young. He's 42 years old. He's a football guy. He's been with Kevin Sumlin. He was there with the Johnny Manziel deal on staff. He's been in football at Houston with Dana Holgerson. So he's seen it done at a high level. He's a Texas guy. That was number one, attracted to him. He was the best AD of any of the people I interviewed with. And I interviewed with 3 or 4 different Group of 5 schools, and thought Charlotte might happen. Had Barry Oldham not taken the Purdue job, I think Tim Alvin was probably going to Purdue, and I was probably going to be on campus Sunday morning at Charlotte. Well, Justin calls me Saturday afternoon and says, "Hey, we want you in Tulsa. We want you on a flight in an hour and a half out of Johnson City. All happened really fast. Got up here, interviewed, offered me the job, kind of laid down the groundwork of what the NIL is, what the push forward is, the staff salary pool, and showed me around town. And I took the job on the spot. I think this is a place where you look at some people that have coached here: Larry Coker, Chad Morris, Ty Graham, Gus Malzahn, Mike Norvell. There's been the guy at SMU, Rhett Lashley. There's been some elite offensive coaches here: Dave Rader, Steve Cragthorpe. A lot of young offensive coaches have had success here, and you can score points. And that's kind of what my MO has been, is coaching quarterbacks and scoring points and playing good defense. And I just thought it was a good fit. It's 14 hours from home. Most of my recruiting base is in the Southeast. My family's from the Southeast. Obviously, I got deep coaching roots in Georgia and the Carolinas, and that's where I've been most of my career. But to have a chance to kind of get roots out here and hire some guys that can recruit out here and are from out here has been a big deal. And it's been a dream come true. It's been a really, really good fit for me. I think this is what I was looking for, and I think Tulsa was looking for me. A guy like me, and these job situations, going through it year after year, it's so much about fit. Like, they know what they're looking for. If you fire an old coach, you're probably going young. If you fire a defensive coach, you're probably going offense. So it was just a good fit, and I really, really like the AD and the president. I know every coach says that, but they are super aligned, and there's a commitment to football. We've doubled almost everything. And that's kind of how it works when you take the new job. We've doubled our salary pool, doubled our NIL, doubled our revenue sharing, our office spaces. Everything is new and fresh, and they want to win here. And I plan on doing that.
Coach, we talked a little bit before we got on about just the city of Tulsa. There was a lot of things I had no idea about how big it was, and kind of talk about that and what kind of your recruiting pitch is to some of these athletes you're trying to get to come to Tulsa.
Well, the airport's terrific. It's 7 minutes from campus. There's 1 million people that live in Tulsa County. So you're talking about one of the top 50 largest cities in the country. And the entire American Conference is really like that. You got South Florida and Tampa, Temple in Philadelphia, Army in New York, Annapolis, Maryland, Dallas, Texas, San Antonio, Texas. The list goes on and on. You're in a city with big places. And there's probably more billionaires in Tulsa, maybe per capita, than anywhere in the country, just because of the oil boom in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. All these families are still, benefiting. I had lunch with a guy with the last name Phillips from Phillips 66. I had breakfast with a guy that sold his oil company for $7 billion to Gulf. It's just there's a lot to like about the city. There's arts, there's music. You're in a really good location right here. We can recruit Dallas, Houston, Shreveport, Louisiana, Arkansas, and in Tulsa, high school football is really, really good. There's been great players play here: Josh Jacobs, Tyler Lockett, Justice Hill, Dax Hill. Those are just some of the few from the last 5 years. But you go look at some of the high schools here, guys that have graduated from here. It's impressive. There's been great players come through here, and we can keep these guys at home or get them to transfer back home. We're going to have success. And I got a plan. We got a plan, and we're sticking to that plan.
Well, Coach, how do you get, these the Mr. Phillips of the world and these high dollar donors to buy into not just you, but to buy into the program, to buy into the athletic department as a whole, and really make this thing take off?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we're working towards, right? I mean, winning games helps. A couple 3-win seasons is not going to get it done, and that's probably why they made the change. But you look at Tulsa, it's unique. It reminds me a lot of Gardner-Webb, where I worked before. There's 4,000 undergrad students. It's one of the smallest schools in the country. It's like Wake Forest. $73,000 a year to go here. It's a private school. You get a great education, and you're in a big city. So it's unique in those ways. But I think there's a community feel here that, if Tulsa gets good and Tulsa plays on ESPN on Thursday night or Friday night 2 or 3 times a year, and they have a good showing, and they beat Army, or they win a bowl game, the traction there is only going to pick up, and it's all about momentum. And we're in a place where I think we can grasp that momentum.
Ghost, let's talk a little bit on the field. Obviously, last year had one of the top rushing attacks in the conference at East Tennessee. What's kind of the offensive philosophy, and what can we expect on that side of the ball this year?
Yeah, I feel good about our offense. We had to replace a lot of guys up front, which is concerning because those guys kind of make the thing go. They're the engine of the operation. But our skill players are really good, and you should always have really good skill here because you're so close to, Tulsa itself has great skill, and then you got Dallas and Houston, and you can go to the Southeast and Arkansas, Louisiana, and get a lot of good players. We're going to make sure we get the lines of scrimmage secured. We ran it a little more last year than I'd like. We had severe quarterback problems. We played 3 guys and turned it over a lot. And our quarterback was a runner. Our starter was. So the numbers are skewed a little bit. I would like to be more 50-50. And I think we will be here. I feel really good about our offensive coordinator. Came over from UConn, and we've known each other for a long time. Never worked together, but his leadership's been awesome. I'm still going to call the plays, but yeah, I think you'll see a good balance. We're going to go fast and change tempos and give our defense a chance to be successful as well. But 50-50 would be ideal for me.
Coach, do you keep anybody, or do you have somebody on staff or even not on staff that's maybe like a coaching mentor that you can go to as you navigate? Especially, I mean, nobody's really been through the landscape of college football the way it is now, but just as you navigate things like the portal and NIL and a new job.
Yeah, I've only been a head coach in this era, which I got hired in 2020. Like at 29 years old. So like at Gardner-Webb, that's one of the hardest jobs in the country. So like I'm only accustomed to the portal, COVID, giving guys 5th years, NIL. Like I've lived this world. I'm not jaded by how it used to be. So I think that gives me an advantage. My dad's certainly a guy I lean on when it comes to discipline and motivation. My uncle's a great offensive mind, a great recruiter, was the head coach at Furman for a long time. My cousin Taylor's at Virginia. We talk every day. He's a quarterbacks coach there. My old head coach, Watson Brown, Mac Brown's older brother, was a head coach at 6 different FBS schools. And then we have a guy here that I hired as the assistant to the head coach, kind of an analytics guy that does a lot of our team meetings and a lot of our speakers and a lot of our, roster management and manages the GAs and things that I don't want to deal with. His name's Chris Selfo. He was the head coach at Tulane for 9 years. And he was in this conference. So kind of a guy I've leaned on there, but I've got plenty of guys that I've talked to, I'm impressed by, and I lean on a daily basis, but I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to go down swinging, and whether it's good or bad, that's kind of how I'm built. I'm the alpha, I'm the leader, and it's just got to be that way. And when you're a good leader and you lead from the front, people tend to follow you, and your team tends to play like your attitude.
Yeah, we've seen a couple, coaches throughout the country that have gotten jobs and had immediate success, and others not. But the common theme we've kind of noticed is immediate, alignment from top to bottom, from president to AD to head coach, and then just building the culture. And a lot of them have brought over a lot of players with them from the previous school they were to kind of help, build that quicker. What's kind of your culture that you want, you're telling the players and that you're trying to build right now?
Yeah, we brought in 19 mid-year transfers. I like some of the guys they had. I think they were young, really young on defense, and they finished really, really poorly statistically, defensively, and I thought they were okay on offense. So I think there's some pieces to build on. I planned on taking about 5 to 6 guys from ETSU because you're stepping up in class, right? When I went to Gardner-Webb, ETSU, you could say that's a lateral move. It's almost like going from Troy to Tulane, like John Summerall did. You're going to a better conference, more resources. Well, now we're taking a step up, right? It's a completely different ball game. But we brought 4 guys with us from ETSU and tried to get 2 more. One of them went to Nebraska and one of them went to Colorado. But I think that's the plan, right? Like that's what Kurt Signetti did. Like take the best players off the teams. I don't care if they're D2, D3, FCS, group of 5, take the best players, and you're going to probably end up with a pretty good competitive football team.
Yeah, Coach, I want to shift gears on you a little bit before we let you go. So we talked about the city of Tulsa. You haven't been there too long, but you already rattled off a good bit of history of Tulsa high school football. But have you gotten a chance to get out in the city, get some food? What's your top spot to eat in town?
Well, we take the recruits to Polo Grill a lot. It's kind of the politician place in town, kind of a low-key steakhouse. The first night I was there, I met the mayor, who's a former TU football player, played wide receiver here. Met a lobbyist there, met a state senator, Dave Rader, who's a former head coach here, is in the Senate. So that's kind of the place where the senators and the politicians hang out. It's a good spot for me to go for lunch or dinner and see people I need to see. There's a great Italian restaurant called Mondo's. Mexican restaurants everywhere. You got great Mexican cuisine. But yeah, I think Polo Grill is probably my favorite spot right now. I'm going to try Jimmy's Chop House on Sunday. Going to take my wife on a date for the first time. Found a babysitter.
There you go.
So that's good. But yeah, there's great food. There's different pockets of town you can go to that are all awesome. My age crowd, mid-30s, young 30s, kind of hangs out in Peoria, Utica, Square, kind of midtown area. It's kind of where we're looking to live. But no, it's been awesome, man. And I'm playing my first round of golf at Southern Hills on Sunday, which is a top 15 course in the country. They've hosted 7 U.S. Opens or PGA Championships. Tiger won here. And then Justin Thomas won the most recent PGA here in 2002. So I've got my first round coming up. Got a big Sunday plan. So I'm playing Southern Hills after church and then taking my wife on a date to Jimmy's Chop House. So that's as Tulsa as it gets right there.
There you go.
That's a day now too. That's a Sunday for anybody, man.
That's
Church, steakhouse, golf. Can't beat that.
That's big time. We we had posted on Twitter that you were coming on. We had some fans put in a couple questions, so if you're good with it, we'll rattle a couple of them off and get your answer, and then we'll let you get out of here.
Yeah.
All right. So this comes from Sidelines West Point. He's an Army fan, but he wants to know, with NIL and transfer portal potentially upending high-performing G5 teams annually as players leave for bigger collectives and more money, how can you perform at a high level while maintaining consistency across multiple years?
Yeah, I think you just kind of got to suck it up and understand, you're going to lose 4 or 5, right? You're going to lose 4 or 5, maybe 10 on if you have a good team, probably 10. They're just going to price you out. We're paying, we've got guys on our roster making $25,000. We got guys making $150,000. We got guys making $0. But if a guy has an opportunity to make $500,000, $800,000, $1 million, I'm not going to stop them. That's life-changing money for a lot of these families. I'll certainly encourage them, and I'll help them pack their bags. We don't want to lose guys laterally. We don't want to lose guys for monetary reasons laterally. And I think we're getting in on the front end of something pretty special here with a new head coach, new AD, and a president that cares about it. But you got to make sure the core of your team and the culture of your team stays, right? You stick your hand in a bucket of water, you pull it out, look at the bucket of water. That's how much you missed. They'll fire me tomorrow. They replaced Nick Saban in 2 days.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way you got to look at it. Everybody's on a 1-year contract. You got to try to get the most out of every player. We're certainly going to try to build the culture and the core of the team. If you can keep the core of the team together, you'll be fine. You lose 5 or 6 good players, that's okay. And nobody needs to panic, and the fan base doesn't need to panic. It's okay. They made life-changing money. Let them go do that, and then we'll replace them with elite FCS players. Great players from the FCS level or drop-down guys that want to play more.
Now, to kind of piggyback off that question, do you think, since you've recently been at the FCS level for a handful of years now, do you think that gives you an advantage with the relationships you've built over the last couple of years and just kind of having probably some more ties than some of the other coaches that have kind of been out of that realm for a while?
No question, for sure. And there's not any FCS schools in Oklahoma. There's not any in Kansas. So we can recruit the Southeast and get really good FCS players. You pay a guy 50,000. There's not a school in the conference I was in just now that's going to pay a guy 50,000. Maybe one or two, maybe one player. So if we get poached, we can go poach guys as well. Legally, of course, but it's kind of just a trickle down effect. And yeah, I hate it. We all hate it. It's part of the game now. Like my job's to win. And the minute I sat in this chair and took this job, my job is to put the best roster together. My feelings, I check my heart at the door. I got to go create the best roster possible. And we certainly have an in on a lot of FCS guys that we've recruited. And I'm a big believer in recruiting the best players on each team. And if you get the best players on each team, you're probably going to put together a good ball club.
Makes sense. All right, last question. You got one, Sprouse?
Well, I was just going to say you pretty much answered most of these already. I was going to say last question. Somebody asked, how long until you win Tulsa's 36th conference championship?
Last one I was going
to. Tulsa's had 180 NFL players. That's the most in the history of the Group of Five. That's the most. You can Google that. 180 NFL players. That is by far. I think the next closest is like 156. So there's been more players from Tulsa playing the NFL than any other Group of Five. We've also had 35 conference championships, which I would put that up there in the top 5 in the Group of Five. So you talk about tradition and history, it's here. I would say a realistic goal for us this year is making a bowl game, and having a winning record. I've got a great track record of turning programs around quickly, and we'll see what happens. I don't have a crystal ball. I would love to be competing for an AAC championship in year 2, year 3, and that's my expectation to do that. And it's our staff's expectation, our team's expectation. We talk about it, and we're not going to shy away from anybody. We're not going to take a back seat to anybody in this league or at this level. You can look at Boise and UNLV and some of these teams have had a couple good years, but you hit on the right quarterback, you get a good schedule, and you retain some players, man, and you get some older guys. Like we're going to be playing a lot of freshmen and sophomores. If we can get those guys to juniors and seniors, 2026, 2027, we could be really, really dangerous.
Yeah, we saw. I mean, American's one of the top conferences in the country. You win that conference, you're going to have a really good shot at making the CFP.
No question. And, Army and Navy and Tulane had the best years this year. And I think Tulane's doing a great job. John Summerall's a great coach, and they're really loading up right now for him. He won 9 or 10 games this year. 9 games, I think, this year. He was a great coach at Troy. So they want to hold on to him, but they're also realistic that his name's going to come up for every Power 4 job. So, in my opinion, Tulane is like loading up right now and trying to put let's make sure we capitalize on John Summerall and try to get the CFP. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of shakeup. Army and Navy is hard to take transfers, so they're kind of rhythmic. So, they'll have some years where they win 10 or 11, and they'll have some years when they win 6 or 7. But my goal is to worry about Tulsa and see how good we can get.
Well, Coach, we can't thank you enough for coming on, and you're right. I mean, it's a damn good conference. You mentioned some of those top teams: Tulane, Army, Navy, Memphis. Love to see Tulsa up there in that mix at the top of this thing, and we got to get out there now, Jeff. Now that you mentioned the airport's so close, that's what's been such a pain for us to get everywhere. Is there's no good airports, but we got to get out there. We'll go to the Polo Grill, and we'll have a whole time. But thank you for coming on again, Coach.
Yeah, appreciate you guys, man. Thank you so much.
Jeff, you ever watched The Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone?
Are you kidding me? Of course I watched Tulsa King.
I'm a big mob. I'm a big fascinated with that stuff. Maybe we got to go to Tulsa, see if we can find the real Tulsa King.
I think we absolutely have to. And like the way Coach was talking about it, I had no idea that it was like such a big city, and you got sounds like a great nightlife, a lot of music venues, a couple casinos. I mean,
Yeah,
he had
definitely
me
didn't
at
know about the
casino.
definitely didn't know about the casino scene. Um, yeah, I mean, you do get to thinking about it. All the teams in the American are in pretty large markets.
Yeah.
And man, all that oil money. That's the thing, that's the thing in today's landscape. And he said realistically, year 2, year 3, but I mean, you have seen a couple that hit year 1.
I mean,
And
you can flip a
he
roster now with
Yep.
with the way everything is, and I mean, you get a couple donors that really likes him. I mean, that's what it
Yeah.
is. That's what it boils down to. Like they gotta like the coach. They gotta believe in the plan that he's putting in place, along with the athletic director. You get those things aligned. I mean, they got the pockets to do it. So
Yeah. And I'll tell you, man, he's about business. I mean, he's
sharp.
just straight to the point. I mean, if transparent about everything, that was one thing I wanted to talk about because he brought it up, and it's something I guess we kind of knew, but you don't usually hear it from that side of like where you're kind of speculating who's going to go where, who you think's going to go where, and I mean, you think about for him and his family. I mean, you're sitting there at East Tennessee, and it's we might be here, we might be here. I don't know, honey. We might be might be here, and then I tell you what, man, to be a coach, especially a young guy that's climbing the ladder like he is, you got to have a wife and family that's
no doubt.
just ride or die, dude.
That's it.
I mean, because that grind, I mean, especially if you start if you start as a GA, and I mean, you got to go GA a year or two, then you got to go you do D2, D3 school, and
Position coach, head coach,
moving every year, every other year. You're living in an apartment. Sometimes you're moving, and then you as the coach got to go. And then sometimes, like when we talked to Coach Mason when he first got to Murfreesboro, he had some family that were still living elsewhere. You know what I mean? And you just don't know. It's a tough deal, and as hard as they work and as many hours as they work with not just film but with recruiting. I mean,
that's where he was right before he got on. He said he was talking to a recruit, and I mean, it's a grind, man. It's interesting too. He brought up Charlotte, thought that was a possible destination because we kind of thought that me and you had talked about that.
Yeah.
And then the domino kind of falls with Odom and then Albin, and but I think he truly believes Tulsa was the right spot for him, and he can win there. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
They haven't had a winning program in several years. And the American Conference is tough with, I mean, Tulane, Army, Memphis. I mean, you got some heavy hitters really, really improving every single year, especially with NIL. So we'll see. I'm rooting for him, man. I'd love for Tulsa to be great.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I don't think he goes there just because it's a step up, because I think he knows, hey, I'm a pretty hot name. I'm a young up and coming guy. I'm probably going to have my pick at a few of these. I think, maybe we said it on the show, maybe we said it to each other, but Charlotte or App or somewhere. And that mostly that's just because that's where he's been. Gardner Webb, East Tennessee's kind of been in that Appalachian, Carolina area. And so if I, in my opinion, for him to go to Tulsa, it's like, because there's going to be another job open next year in that area, whoever it may or may not be. So I think for him to go to Tulsa, he believes in it. And again, in today's climate, I mean, look, you got, what do you say? 2 or 3 donors is all you need. And he's right. Yeah. Especially like he even said, you hit on a quarterback in the portal, all of a sudden, your entire program, his trajectory has changed.
You get a quarterback, you get an offensive line, and you get some guys on the defensive end spots, D line, that can go hunt other opposing quarterbacks. You're going to have a shot. And let me tell you, if Trey Lamb can bring Tulsa to an American championship berth, if not, and a championship, they're going to be a new Tulsa King.
Well, I hope he wears the pinstripe suits like Stallone does in the show. But anyway, man, we can't thank Coach enough. Glad we got him on. Getting this off season started, Jeff. getting these coaches going. A lot of new coaches. We'll have more coming for you. But it's going to be fun. And like we say every single year, we say it, the season is going to come so fast. We're going to be in spring ball, and some teams are going to start spring ball in like a few weeks.
Yep.
And you're going to have summer workouts, then you're going to have fall camp, and then you're going to have week 0. It's right around the corner, but we can't thank Trey Lamb enough for hanging out with us. Tulsa fans, make sure you back that program. People that live in Tulsa, make sure you get out there to the stadium and you support that team. The winning can happen a lot quicker if you get that community bought in. So get down there and support Tulsa. That's all we got for you guys. Make sure you hit the follow button at Group of Five Guys on all the social media platforms. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Most important,